Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today for our webinar, The State of Market Research. So in today's presentation, we will explore the findings from our very first annual State of Market Research report, and we're very excited to share the findings with you today. My name is Ashley Wolf. I'm the Marketing Director here at FuelCycle, and I'm very excited to have you all with us today. Before we start, I do have a few housekeeping items I'd like to review with you. So if you have any questions at any time throughout today's presentation, feel free to submit them to either the question or chat box inside the GoToWebinar interface. We will catalog them throughout and come back to them at the end of today's presentation. So today's webinar should take about 30 to 35 minutes, which is a little bit longer than we usually run because we just have so many insights we want to share with you guys today. But we still will have a 10 to 15-minute Q&A session afterwards. So with that, I would like to introduce our panel of presenters. So first off, we have Emily. She is our Director of Research at FuelCycle. For over 2 years, she has overseen numerous research projects across a variety of industries. Prior to FuelCycle, Emily worked at Lieberman Research Worldwide. Thank you for joining us today, Emily. Next, Zoe is a Senior Research Associate at FuelCycle. She has spent the last year helping the top Fortune 500 companies listen and learn from consumer behavior to help guide creative business strategies. Thank you for joining us today, Zoe. We also have Nick joining us today, who is our Senior Research Manager at FuelCycle. For over 2 years, he has overseen multiple research projects across a variety of industries, including insurance, entertainment, and retail. Thank you for joining us today, Nick. Mai, our Associate VP of Client Services, she has spent most of her career helping the top Fortune 500 companies answer their most important business questions. Thank you for joining us today, Mai. And finally, we have Rick. Rick is FuelCycle's in-house expert on insights and customer experience. He has spent most of his career in the market research industry, working closely with clients and operations teams to ensure client needs are met. Thank you for joining us today, Rick. Well, now that we've introduced our panel of presenters, let's jump into today's presentation. As I mentioned before, this presentation is based on our findings from our first annual State of Market Research report. We surveyed 130 market research leaders across every industry to discover a bird's eye industry overview, the heart of the industry, how they spend their time, the tools and solutions they use for project ease, and then we look towards the future. How is the industry going to evolve, and what are future improvements that we can look forward to? So with that, I will turn over today's presentation to Emily.
Thank you so much. So on our slide here, you'll see most researchers are not siloed into any one industry. So most industries, anywhere from insurance, retail, consumer goods, to manufacturing, rely on a team of individuals for market and consumer data and insights. In our survey, we polled market researchers from a wide array of companies, and about half are working in corporate insights. The majority of our respondents happened into market research by chance, whether a market research job that happened to cross their path or an evolution of their existing job. Those respondents who didn't happen upon their market research careers by chance landed there via their educational background, so degrees in psychology, mathematics, advertising or marketing, or science, all research-heavy, if not research-focused degrees. We see the future of market research as a continued battle of speed and quality. So research is always going to require sound methodology, quality recruiting, talking to the right people, actionable, insightful analyses, and having data in real time is crucial so that corporations can make quick and informed business decisions. Market researchers work very hard, and many are rewarded with autonomy. So nearly half in our survey note that they have a set schedule, but frequently go into work early, leave late, or both to accommodate their workloads. Nearly 40% note that their hours are pretty flexible, so as long as their work gets done on time and to their clients' expectations, they can set their own hours somewhat. 63% of our respondents are mostly or completely satisfied with their job, So among those who do feel satisfied, they note an amazing team, a great company culture, autonomy and flexibility are among the main reasons for that satisfaction. And on the flip side, roughly a quarter of the respondents who were not as satisfied attribute that to a lack of growth or promotion, experiencing too many reorganizations, or lacking a work-life balance. The question of how market researchers can feel happier in the workplace can have many solutions. So this could take the form of building meaningful client or colleague relationships, refining an expertise in a certain area such as reporting, client management, big data, or operational and efficiency initiatives. Continuing to adapt to the changing workplace and industry should be a main leveraging point for market researchers and a foundation for stability. But the key is really getting outside of your lane, working collaboratively across departments and organizations.
Thank you so much, Emily. Today I'm very excited to be able to share with all of you about market researchers what I'm normally sharing with our clients about their customers, so preferences and satisfaction. From our State of Market Research report, you can see that market researchers are mostly satisfied with their jobs. I believe this general happiness boils down to the fact that every day we're taking steps to create real change. Essentially, we're in the business of building better business. It's our job to thread together different data sources for the purposes of finding those key insights that change the way the client thinks about their customers, their campaigns, or their content strategy. And ultimately, our goal is to provide real impact on end user satisfaction and brand loyalty. Of course, with that comes a certain set of challenges. By nature, humans are generally resistant to change. We're biologically programmed to feel threatened by the unfamiliar and the new, but our entire industry rests on brands' openness to change. And yet, one of the most commonly mentioned reasons for dissatisfaction among market researchers is funding. This is the biggest way that some companies demonstrate their resistance to change. Interestingly, though, the other main reason why market researchers say that they're not completely satisfied with their jobs is actually due to high project volume and overwork, something that Emily just touched upon as well. I think that this is the most interesting point. I think that gap really indicates the fast-growing importance of market research and companies' rapidly evolving recognition of its true value. In essence, I think this particular point of tension signals an imminent boom in our industry. In true forward-thinking fashion, market researchers tend to be frustrated by tedious tasks and inefficiencies in technology. Panel recruitment and survey programming are two examples of the more non-creative tasks that can feel like a daily obstacle to getting to the more engaging and mentally stimulating analytical labor. For instance, for me, the most exciting and rewarding part of my job is analysis and report writing. That's when I get to play the role of storyteller. I get to take the numbers and make something meaningful and beautiful out of them. The less time I can spend on the dry data processing, the more time and thought I get to dedicate to crafting and communicating insight. And the exciting thing is, artificial intelligence tools are already being built to make those more tedious processes more automated. While I fully recognize that AI is a contentious topic at its current stage in its evolution, I can't stress this headline enough. Automation can never replace human touch. My hope is that rather than fear new automated systems, we can embrace the space they offer us and use them to expand our own capabilities as strategic thinkers and creative problem solvers. For example, if I use an AI tool to take over the left brain tasks of processing data sets and detecting patterns in the numbers, that frees up my time and mental energy for the more creative right brain work. I can provide deeper, richer insights and become an even smarter strategic partner for my clients, who can then create an even greater impact in their space.
Okay. So time management is crucial in order to get tests done on a daily basis. And my goal today is to share with you some of the background and insider tips that go into this. So let's start out with what would largely be considered the backbone behind what we do as market researchers, and that is collecting data. Data collection is a timely process that carries many subtasks along with it. These subtasks include building and drafting research studies, whether they be quantitative research like surveys or qualitative research like discussions, interviews, or focus groups. The time and effort put into building your instrument will pay off in the long run when you get to analysis and reporting. Another major component of data collection is the actual fielding of the research. Paying close attention to the fielding will also pay off as you analyze and report the data because you will already get an idea of the story that is being crafted. Aside from simply collecting data, the job takes on an art form when crafting a story out of the findings. Making sure you keep a close eye on all parts throughout the data collection process is critical in crafting a story that fully embodies the insights that the data has to offer. So moving forward, let's take an even closer look at the daily tasks of market researchers. Our research found that the top 3 tasks that market researchers spend most of their time on weekly includes communicating with clients, analyzing data, and, as mentioned before, fielding research. Our research objectives come from our clients, so making sure that the research and analysis is in line with what they want and need is very important. It's very common in a work week to be in close correspondence with the client, either through email or phone, in order to finalize a research project before we begin fielding. Depending on the size of the research project, the analysis of the data can become a rather large task, which is likely why so many researchers shared that they spend a bulk of their time on this. For me personally, it's the data analysis combined with the report writing that takes up the majority of my time. Ultimately, the final presentation of data, which is generally in the form of a report, is what really matters, and I tend to spend a lot of time making sure that this is written in a clear, concise manner. I do this largely so that the report not only tells an insightful story, but also leaves our clients with no questions or uncertainty. And so, as this slide states, good research is equal to the success of the research findings. A lot of what we do as market researchers isn't necessarily glamorous and could even be considered boring by some people. But that said, it's the meticulous attention to detail, the constant improving of internal research methods, and the rigorous dedication to high-quality research and reporting that allow us to produce actionable findings that help clients make important business decisions.
Thanks, Nick. Whether analytics tools, project management tools, or communication tools, researchers are inundated by a multitude of options. I'll be highlighting the most commonly used tools available and what we use here at FieldCycle. This graph is properly distributed in terms of usage. Excel is used by most researchers given its prevalence and accessibility. You can do sophisticated analysis in Excel, but it requires a lot more work, like building your own algorithms. Whereas with SPSS and R, you can leverage pre-existing packages to run advanced analytics. Market researchers should do their research to select the right tools for their company needs. And of the enterprise survey and analysis suites listed, no one tool is currently considered the one solution. Qualtrics can be used for simple programming, and Sawtooth should be used for streamlining conjoint and market simulations. For example, Sawtooth is better at conjoint and market simulations than Qualtrics, but Qualtrics is much more intuitive and easier to program. Some of these survey tools also need to be downloaded for further analysis in Excel, R, or Survey Reporter, and perhaps viewed via Tableau to create visual appealing charts and reports. Your survey can also be enhanced by using web analytics tools such as Google Analytics that track and report website traffic. I'm surprised to see that Excel and Google Sheets are the most commonly used tools for project management. There are many more robust project management tools out there. Research projects can have multiple steps involving a team of people in a very short period of time. Tools like Microsoft Project, Asana, Basecamp, Wrike, and Workflow Max allow for more visibility into day-to-day activities from each team member, individual workloads and efficiencies, critical paths, and overview of each project. FieldCycle has experimented by using Asana, Basecamp, Wrike, and Workflow Max. Asana and Basecamp are great for collaboration and is simple to use. Wrike is similar, but also has a great reporting feature that analyzes workload per person, views Gantt charts, and uses other useful features. Fuel Cycle currently uses Workflow Max because it has similar task management to the other tools I previously highlighted, but also has a very simple time tracking system to accurately allocate time to different jobs, which some of the other solutions lack. Market researchers should be using a centralized messaging tool that permits open channels of communication for the internal team and a place where you can gather information to create a knowledge base. This tool should be separate from email so that you do not clutter your email with internal communication leading to potentially missing an important client email. In addition, if you have members that are remote, integrating video capabilities and screen share are also a must. So tools like Yammer and Microsoft Teams are great all-in-one solution.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Maya, and everyone else for taking the time to talk about current trends in market research, the tools that people are using, how they're using them, and kind of common themes around what people are trying to accomplish with their research tools. I think we've heard some interesting things so far, really around how people are using data and the need for better storytelling and great storytelling when it comes to market research. And I'm going to kind of change gears a little bit. I'll be speaking about both industry fears and the kind of the future of market research and where we see the industry going. So to kind of set the stage for this, I think that we live in a very dynamic time. I think that we sense that there's a lot of change inside the industry. There's lots of things that are changing. We see a growth from a lot of software tools, but public market research companies, some of the larger companies like Nielsen, GfK, even Comscore, their growth has slowed substantially. So, that's interesting when you pair that with the fact that there's never been more data collected than ever before, right? So we're collecting more data, but market research companies, at least the big public market research companies, are actually growing slower than they have, for the past 20. They're growing the slowest that they have for the past 20 years. And I think there are some interesting trends underlying that that we're going to speak about today. And so some of the questions that we asked our survey respondents in the questionnaire that we sent out was really around some of their fears, right? And around 25% of respondents said that they're really concerned about job security. And I think that's a good fear. We like people to be aware and everything. And when we pair that with some interesting research that other organizations have done, we know that Forrester is projecting that artificial intelligence is going to replace about 16% of American jobs by the end of 2020. And McKinsey, in fact, says that 45% of activities individuals are paid to do today can be replaced or automated by using currently existing technology. So the fact that only 25% of market researchers are concerned about job security is maybe a little underwhelming. In fact, when we look at a study done by two Oxford-based computer science researchers, Carl Frey and Michael Osborne, they examined 702 different occupations and estimated the likelihood that they would be automated. And they said that there's a 61% chance or probability of automation for market research analysts, right? And actually, don't look at this right now because you should be listening to me, but what you should do afterwards is you go to the website "Will Robots Take My Job?" and just type in market research, look at a number of different industries, and they present the research that Carl Frey and Michael Osborne did. And so there's a lot of change and things that we should be concerned about for the future, right? And so we kind of transition and kind of think about how this changes market research. What's the industry going to do? And so again, in the same survey that we've been sharing, researchers reported that the role of technology and automation are among the most substantial changes that they witness throughout their career. And so, like many industries, technology is both an enabler of new opportunities and a destroyer of antiquated systems. And so at Fuel Cycle, what we think this means is that we believe that the best innovations in market research technology have yet to come, right, through automation and through artificial intelligence. And so you think about a couple facts here. So bots already summarize professional baseball games, right? So they'll tell you exactly what happens. If you want to see what happened with the last night Dodgers game, by the way, Dodgers are playing great. If you want to see what happened in last night's Dodgers game, the likelihood is that you have a bot that's summarizing the results for you. Or if you want to see a summary of a public company's earnings call where they're sharing financial data, that's written by bots usually now. And so you think about many of the basic market research tasks that we do today, there's no reason that a trained system couldn't summarize and automate those already. It's just a matter of putting in the effort and need to do it. So it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. Anything that can be automated will be automated. And our overall suggestion for many market researchers is that they should embrace this, they should adapt to it rather than try and resist it. Okay, and you think about the role of AI and automation in market research is that there's a few fundamentals that are becoming more important to what we do in our industry. Is one, we have to have methodologies correct, and number two is we have to have high quality data, right? Because as we increase automation, we actually also increase kind of the black box nature of market research. We kind of put things in a box. We don't really touch the data, we don't manipulate the data, and so we automate things. So if we have problems with survey respondents, or if we have problems with our methodology, then these become we're less likely to catch these because more of the research process is done by computers and kind of goes into a black box. And so it's very important for researchers to consider the role of data quality and their methodologies as they're doing research as well. So when we think about the future, right, what some of the exciting things, right, and that we talked about a few moments ago, is that there's more data being collected than ever before. And so the number of data sources that we're using is expected to grow by 85% between 2015 and 2020. And what that means for market researchers is that we need to be more accustomed to using integrated tools, to working with platforms, and to working across distributed systems to pull data from different sources. So in many cases, your CRM data should be connected to your survey data, and your survey data should be connected to your marketing automation data, or marketing automation performance, right? All these things should work together, and this is a trend that we should embrace rather than resist. I think too often market researchers kind of sit in a silo in the marketing or product department and don't advocate for integration with other tools. And in fact, we should do that. We should be advocating for that, and and automating those tasks wherever possible. So when we think about the future of market research and what's coming down the pipe, really it is an increasingly automated future. It's not going to completely replace humans, right? We talked about the importance of storytelling. And I think one of my favorite stories that really illustrates this comes by way of analogy. So about 20 years ago, I was in school still, and I was in the chess club. I was not a good chess player, but my best friend was number 1 in our class. I was like number 11. He was much smarter than I am. But we were watching Gary Kasparov play Deep Blue. This is IBM's Deep Blue machine, right? So this was like Gary Kasparov was a world chess champion and probably the leading world chess player at the time. And so kind of the world watched, and my chess club watched. It was the only club that would let me in. As IBM's Deep Blue computer played Gary Kasparov and actually defeated him, which is the first time that a human has lost to a computer. And so at this point, you would think that, hey, computers are obviously better chess players. They can calculate more data. They can go through more moves faster than a human can, which is very, very true. And in fact, in most cases today, if you still put a computer and pit it against a human, the computer is going to win most of the time. That's why they have easy modes on computerized chess. But the most effective and efficient chess teams are actually neither computer nor human. They're actually what they call centaur chess teams. And centaur chess teams are hybrids of human and computer. So what you have is you have a computer that's able to do all the data processing and be able to infer probabilities about different moves, but a human that's able to use their own intuition and experience playing chess to guide the computer, to make choices, make strategic choices that a computer may not be able to see. And so if you have a Centaur chess team, right, which is a combination of man and computer, they're actually much more effective than either a human is alone or a computer is alone. And I think that's a great analogy for how we view the future of market research. It's not that humans aren't necessary, it's that they're more effective when they're paired with more data and more processing power. So we have some real cognitive limits as humans that don't allow us to connect disparate data points. But what we can do is we can use artificial intelligence, we can use automation to do more than we're doing today. And so our advice to market researchers right now is to be preparing for this future, to start working with your vendors to understand what they're doing in the realms of automation and artificial intelligence to expand your capacity. And if you're on the vendor side, we strongly encourage you to consider automation and artificial intelligence as core components of your business looking forward. Because the truth is that a company that doesn't invest in either is not going to be successful in the future. And so we think it's a very dynamic time. We also think that the best is yet to come for market research, for the types of things that we can do that, given artificial intelligence and automation, and are very much looking forward to this future. Ashley, I think I'm done. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rick. That was really informative as always. And so I do have a handful of questions that have come in so far, and want to remind anybody, if you do have questions, please enter them either into the question or chat box. And I wanted to quickly just let everybody know that we will have the full report, the State of Market Research, available next week, and we will be sending it out to all attendees, so you can see all of the insights, and it has even more in-depth information than we provided today. So the first question actually comes from Lauren. She wants to know, how many respondents did the survey have, and can we please share a snapshot of methodology? So I can definitely answer that first one. So we had 130 market research leaders from across the world respond to our survey. So I think, if I remember correctly, it was about 60% were from the U.S. and 40% from around the world, and it ranged from small businesses of less than 50 to organizations of 5,000 employees and above. And the experience level, the majority of respondents actually had between 10 to 15 plus experience. So it was more of these experienced market researchers answering our questions. And as far as the methodology, Rick, I think that's probably the best one for you to take.
Yeah, so methodology, we just collected data via survey, and so we sent this out to our CRM list and encouraged others to refer other market researchers. We collected email addresses so we can validate the source of these people to ensure that they're part of our industry. Like many industry surveys, really it depends on people self-selecting into the survey. So we're not necessarily making broad inference about the results, but we do think that they are illustrative of many trends that we see.
Wonderful. So I have another question that came in from Dan, and I think this is probably best for Emily to answer this. He's asking, how can researchers show interdepartmental value when organizations are still so siloed?
I think this is what we're doing right now is a good example of something like this, like looking for ways to share expertise across your own organization to improve everyone that you work with, better understanding of what everyone's working on. So often on our different accounts here, we're all working in specific industries. Maybe one person works heavily in insurance and someone else works with a lot of retail or entertainment clients. We still find so much value in sharing what we're doing for those clients, and often just coming up with methodologies that work across many different industries. Just kind of sharing what we're learning often helps everyone else in the organization.
Great. Thank you for that, Emily. So our next question is from Christy, and she asks, to Rick, there are so many new tools for market researchers, from chatbots to virtual reality. How can market research teams determine which is the best fit for their organization?
Yeah, so the answer here is just we come to fuel cycle. I will tell you everything. But the real answer is, really, I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And I would suggest that you do lean on vendors for this and ask vendors to provide information to you. I think vendors can do a great job educating their client-side partners, because oftentimes they're the ones that have the resources, the R&D budgets to experiment here. And the most important thing is that you ask for validation, or you understand what you're buying before you go into it. So if it's an early stage kind of beta type product, you should know that before buying it. But I do think that there are a few principles for new technologies, right? So one is that they should be transparent about methodologies and tools that go into those methodologies. Number two is they should have a very positive respondent experience, or seamless respondent experience. So if you have a tool that requires somebody to download 20 different apps and do like a video call, and it's hard to use, it introduces friction to the user experience, and you're likely not to not be as successful. And the third thing is that it should integrate with the other systems as well, and use the tools and integrate with the other tools that you're using today. And so those are kind of the principles I think we suggest, and we would definitely suggest that you also ask for education from your vendors and suppliers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rick. So we had a question come in, and I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right. I believe it's Priyanka, and she asked, what tool do you use to manage your projects? I think Mai and Rick, you can probably best answer this.
Sure, absolutely. We've really done